Welcome back to another episode of CRE, The Unspoken Truth. Today, we are talking about team capabilities. And specifically, the title of our conversation is Team Capabilities Are a Must in the New Economy. And so my question to start is, when you're building a team and how you've built your brokerage team, what did you look for and how did you evaluate each candidate that you were, each position, each candidate when you were looking to hire and fill that spot?
Well, it's the same way we're building OneSource, right? So I have a certain skill set, a certain skill set. You have a certain skill set. Combined, we have this much of a skill set of a pie, and we're trying to fill that pie. So what we do, it doesn't matter, in my opinion, it doesn't matter what team you're building. What you're trying to do is fill the gaps of what you don't have. And so I like to put people, as we talked about earlier, unique ability is excellence plus the passion. We like to put people in their unique abilities 75% or more of the time so that you're doing what you love doing and you're great at it. I'm doing what I love doing and what I'm great at it. And then we're filling in around our team. So one of our weaknesses, 100% of our weaknesses 7 months ago, is we have no idea how to code. And so we had to go out and find our tech team. And so we started with one, and he led us to the second, and we found our third. So now we have three full-time engineers, all with different skill sets. They all have their unique abilities. So our tech team is super rounded. And then we had to find a product person, and we found Cody, and his skill sets are way different than yours and mine, way different than the engineers. And then we had, our salespeople, Drew, who is a salesperson through and through, and just a fabulous 10 person. So we're looking for those people who have skill sets outside of ours, and we've been able to do that. And that's what I look for all the time. I'm looking for, and I love and appreciate people who have different skill sets than mine.
Well, it's you want different unique abilities, different skill sets within the company, but also within the team, right? You talked about our engineering team, and we've got people who love data. We've got people who love, the front end and the design side. We have people who love architecture and thinking about how is this going to scale for the next 2 years. And those are all different skill sets and all different unique abilities, just within that department.
Dan Sullivan was 100% right. There is no one skill set, one unique ability the same. Everybody's is a little bit different. So the way I sell is different than the way Drew sells. The way Drew sells is different than the way Sam, our other salesperson, sells. So we are looking for people who have incredible skill set, but they're unique in their own way, and we're handling that differently. So we have built a team that I think is unparalleled in the tech industry. That we got 11 people with all different skill sets, and we trust those people because they are passionate about what they do. And when they tell us something, when Nathan tells us something about the data, we don't question it because we know that that's what he dreams about. I mean, he's dreaming about engineering on the data side, and it's awesome to see because I have no capability there, none, zero.
Right. Has that changed in the sense of 20, 30 years ago, building a team? Was it different than it is today? Or maybe it's just changed personally for you as you've, grown and had your different experiences through your career. But do you think in the economy or just building a team in general, has that changed over the last 2, 3, 4 decades?
It's changed because there's way more specialization today. Yes, there's, you could have been a generalist. You could survive as a generalist back in the day. Today, you have to have a special skill set. And we say this with athletes too. As you know, our daughter, your sister Claire, she played beach volleyball at LSU, and she's the 4th winningest player in NCAA history. And she had one skill set that was way better than anybody else in her peer group, but she was an instinctual blocker. She's 6'1", so she had some height, but she just, from the time she was 15, she just could start blocking And that was instinctual for her. That was a unique ability that set her apart. And one of the reasons why she won 130 matches in her career, in an NCAA career. And it's the same way in business now. You have to have some skill set that is above everybody else. Of course, you have to be well-rounded and do other things. But my skill set of sitting down, thinking, and creating an idea, and then your skill set of actually executing that idea, those are unique in the marketplaces, and we benefit from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how about in today's economy, in today's market, are there specific skill sets or skills that or personality traits that stand out as mandatory, right? You have to have this to be successful today. Anything come to mind when I ask you that question?
Well, I think yes, communication, being able to communicate your idea. We were talking about Nathan earlier. He's a former fourth grade teacher, so he has this unique ability to take his data ideas and what he's working on, and then break them down to something that we can understand, which is very unique in an engineering standpoint. So that's a skill set that we got a bonus when we hired Nathan, because he has that skill set. I think the ability to communicate effectively is always important, and it's becoming more and more important as these specialized skills come in place. And there's this backlash that says it's okay to be a generalist, and I think in some cases that's true in bigger companies. Generalists can survive today. But when you're building a tech team, when you're trying to build a sustainable tech team, you have to have very specific skill set in the engineering side, and the product side, on the sales side, and on the operations side, that are different than a lot of other businesses. And so building those skill sets is hard to do. And we've been successful doing that. And it's because we are really focused on it.
What would you say? Because I know this has become a trend in commercial real estate, right? Is becoming more of a specialist and really saying, hey, I only do office tenant rep. And you guys at C2 have steered away from that, right? You guys you guys do a lot of office tenant rep, but that's not the only thing you do. So I wouldn't say, maybe you would argue and say that you are specialists there. But I also would say you guys are generalists in a way of, you'll do retail deals, you'll do acquisition deals, you'll do leasing, tenant rep, landlord rep, industrial, hotel, right? Any asset class, right? You'll do it. So I know that's become a trend in brokerage. And do you think that's helped you or hurt you to stay a little bit more on the generalist side?
Sometimes it helps us, sometimes there's, my biggest deal in 2021 was we sold an $86 million resort. But that's really unique. That was a relationship more than it was a skill set. We aren't planning to do that. If it arises, and I'm really the only one on the team that would have that kind of relationship that could do it. We are really super focused on office deals. We will run and do an industrial deal. We'll sell something here and there, but we're really focused. That our 95% of our efforts are focused on doing what we do really well. And then the other 5% is, allowing me to kind of freelance a little bit and do some stuff that wouldn't be acceptable in the marketplace. If you're at one of the bigger shops, you can't do that. If you run across another deal, they take it away from you pretty quick, and you got to refer it out. So one of the reasons I came to Lee & Associates was the ability to do just that, to kind of be able to wander around and do a little bit more. But being specialized is critically important in today's world.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm jumping back to what we were just talking about, but I did just think of something. We were talking about the traits or the skills that were mandatory in today's economy and today's market. And you said communication, and I agree completely with that. I think you can have a really good idea, but if you can't communicate it effectively, it's not going to go anywhere.
No.
And I have a question. Do you think being tech savvy is becoming more of a mandatory skill set?
Yeah, let's go through the skills. Communication, big
Yep.
one. Tenacity, huge one. And this is where I think we're not doing a favor to the younger generation, is like, hey, if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Now there's tenacity required in everything you may love. I love backpacking, but you and I have been on backpacks where it sucked. It's type 2 fun, right? Where it's fun after it's done, And during the time when we, you know, it was fun. We did Thunder River last year with Claire, and we got our butts kicked in the heat. And I'm glad we did it. It was great, but during it was really tough. And so I think there's a tenacity that's required in today that people aren't telling the younger folks. There is skill sets in terms of communication and other skill sets like technology. And this is where I think people are missing it. In our industry, in the commercial real estate industry, we have been a lagging industry in technology for a decade now. And there are people who are using it. I know somebody who's on the residential side that are 100% of their leads are coming from their referrals from people on their
Like social media or
on their juice. I'm drawing a blank now.
Yelp or
Yelp,
something?
from their Yelp
Yeah.
reviews. They're getting 50 leads a month from their Yelp reviews. And I tried to do that, and we can't get any leads on the commercial side. But there's a business there because they understand the technology, and there's people who are doing that. We are trying to bring the commercial real estate transaction business in the 21st century, transactions 3.0. We're trying to change how people do transactions, and we're getting a lot of pushback because there's a lot of people who are reluctant to change, and it's going to hurt them. They know it. They know they're getting behind, and yet here they are still pushing back on and go, I don't know if I need to do that. It's crazy.
Well, software is just growing, right? And I think over time, I think, you know, COVID was a huge catalyst for the change and acceleration of technology adoption. But there will be more. And I think, you know, we are becoming more and more dependent on technology, and those who aren't able to adopt will be left behind. And so I think it's an important skill or an important trait to have today. And I think it's slowly becoming a mandatory skill to have today.
So the question then becomes is how do I do this? And I think we talked a little bit about it, but let me tell you how I think about technology. First, you say yes to technology. You don't say no, you say yes. When we started OneSource, everybody wanted to be on Slack. I'd never been on Slack before. So we're a Slack team. Said yes to the technology. We created our new CRM, and it was HubSpot, and we said yes to the HubSpot. And then HubSpot allows us to do sequencing on emails and those kinds of things. We said yes to that. And so what we're finding is you have to say yes to technology. You have to say, and it's a little bit of a nuance or a nuisance to kind of learn it, but you're staying involved in it. And so I've asked people to Slack me. You know, you use it, Slack, as that's the communication tool. I would text everybody the text or email you because I'm older, and now I'm learning to share stuff on Slack. And that's something that we all have to learn. And I would say in our industry, if people are listening to this that are older and have been doing business the same way, you have to pull your head out of your butt right now and start learning technology immediately.
Yeah, and Slack is one of those, right? I think Slack, Microsoft Teams. I know your brokerage team uses Teams. We use Slack, Zoom. We've all figured it out, but we laugh about this internally. We do demos on Zooms, and at least one a week, we'll get someone who can't figure it out. And to us, we laugh because it's like, hey, it might have made sense 2 or 3 years ago, but we've been on Zoom. The whole world's been on Zoom for 3 years now. If you can't figure out how to get on Zoom, what does that say about the rest of your business or the rest of your ability to adopt technology?
We're a close ratio, and people can't figure out how to get on a Zoom are not very high because And it's funny, this podcast that we're doing now it's not feasible 3 years ago.
Right.
We're not in the same house, we're not in the same place, we're not in the same office. Now we could be because we live in the same town, we could be, but we've decided to make it separate because it's just easy. It's easy for us, and we don't have to set up a studio. You're in your house, I'm in my house. We move around. There is no background. I literally thought in our home office that I do one of these every now and then. I thought, why don't I set up a studio? And I thought, I don't think people care anymore. I think the content is more important. And so this technology of being able to And we've done this. This is something new. This is a new skill for us, right? We've been doing this now for some months, but it's a skill set that we learned, and we had to hire people that kind of edit this for us and set it up for us, and then we had to learn how to put it on LinkedIn and other places that we post it. So it's a skill set that we're learning.
Yeah, yeah. So the three I have written down: communication, totally agree; tenacity, totally agree; tech savviness, I said that one. Are there any other traits or skills that come to mind that say, hey, this is a trend, and it's only getting bigger. You better jump on, and you better, if you're entering the workforce today, you should have this skill because it's going to be mandatory in the new economy.
I think the ability, and it kind of goes with communication, but it isn't the same thing, the ability to build trust in your own organization and your network.
Yeah.
People come to me and say all the time, how are you so successful? And I said, everybody that I work with and do business with trusts me. And I earn that trust every single day for the last 37 years. And so it sounds trite. It sounds, oh yeah, everybody trusts me, but that's simply not the case. We finish what we start. We do what we say we're going to do. Those are critical foundations, non-negotiables within our own organization, and they're non-negotiables on me as well. I made a commitment to you that we were going to do these unspoken truths, and here we are 6 months into it. We're doing those. I made a commitment to you that we would be running the company in a certain way, and this is what we're doing. And so people trust me. I'm not the smilingest, jovial guy in the world, but I am the most trustworthy. I'm very trustworthy, and so that plays well. People understand, and we've been able to build a team. People will come to us because they trust that I'm going to be there. So our team is based on the trust. Our clients that we've landed and are sticky to us, they trust us to take care of them, and we do.
Yeah. When I think trust, I think consistency, right? You have to build it up over time. And this is a core value of ours at OneSource. We say, get on the escalator with us. Yep. And what that means is, hey, trust is an escalator. You have to build it step by step, day by day. And losing trust is like an elevator. You can lose it in an instant. And so that's how I think about when I say, hey, I have to build trust with this person, or when you say this is a must-have skill in today's market. I think consistency, right? Just showing up and being consistent every day.
Yeah, so I would put all three of those separate categories. I would put tenacity, trust building, consistency. Tenacity is different than consistency. Consistency is showing up and doing doing the tough things every single day that you don't want to do, making the cold calls, doing the extra email before you shut down at night. Those are the things that make consistency. Tenacity is when the going gets tough, you still handle it in the way that you should be on a consistent basis. And tenacity comes in and out, and it's not every day. Some days you don't have to have a tenacious deal, but some days you do, and consistency is there every day. So those are different skill sets in my mind. Yeah.
Well, this is great. Any other last thoughts on the skills and the capabilities that are needed in today's economy?
Well, I think the skill set of being open and willing to learn is something that's highly desired. People think when I got out of in 1983, I got my bachelor's degree. I went back in 1991 and got my MBA. I got my CCIM designation in 1987. I got my SIOR, and I think in 1989. I got my CRE in 1992 or 3. The continuation, I've been to hundreds of seminars. I continue to do that. As we said, I've been learning this idea of you have to be open to being able to change and grow. And if you're not, the world will just run by you. And we've seen it all the time. I see it all the time with people who have the same haircut they did 40 years ago, or they have the beard that they haven't shaved off, in 20 years. It's like they've got stuck in the 60s or 70s. And it's like the world's changed, dude. And
well, I see it with a lot of the people we talk to with CRE OneSource is they will jump on a demo and say, hey, I'm always open to seeing what's out there and seeing the different tools. But based on the questions you ask them, that they really aren't open. It sounds like the right thing to say, and maybe they think that they are that way, but there are a lot of people that say that because it's the right thing to be said, but they don't really mean it, or they don't really believe it with their heart. And I think, a big part of that is change is scary, right? Change is scary, and I've had some success doing it this way. Why change? But the idea of, hey, I'm always out there looking, I always want to see what's best, and I'm open to new ideas. Again, that's a great thing to say, and I think it's an even better thing to really believe.
Right. So, they say I'm always open out there to look at things, and they pull open their flip phone, that they had from
Yeah.
20. What's your CRM? Well, we're still using Act on our desktop.
Or their deal files in the background
Deal
of the
files,
Zoom.
yeah. You had a demo the other day, and the guy says, "Oh, I'm not into that stuff," and he had his manual deal file sitting on his credenza behind him as he's yelling for his assistant to set up his Zoom for him.
Yeah.
And so some of those people, they literally, and now you can survive in our business. And he would, the way he did business, he was a land broker, and he was selling to farmers, and that's great. They can make a business that way. But the world is changing, and you have to kind of stay with it. The world moves without you. And so you can you don't tell the world how you're going to dictate it. The world tells you. And so one of the reasons why we acquired this company is to just make sure that, are we still relevant in the world? And turns out we are, which is pretty cool.
Right. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the team capabilities and how the market is changing, how the economy is changing, and how people's skill sets and characteristics need to change with it, to stay relevant and to stay on top of the ever-changing trends. So thank you.